a last alliance of men and elves marched against the armies of Mordor, and on the slopes of Mount Doom, they fought for the
シュゴッダムはそれが他国の犠牲の上なら俺様は認めない。どんな外道に手を染めようと地球の民、私はこのシュゴッダムの地にバグナラクの民を受け入れた。我々は今や良き友人として共に生活している。
Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. Welcome, countrymen! I am the Kaiju no Kami, son of Toku and Animation News Network, and Thoust will be holding to a review of Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger. While Donbrothers was airing, Toei began production on their follow-up Sentai series. They hired Minato Takano to write it. Takano was previously an understudy with Yuya Takahashi when he did both Kamen Rider Xaid and 01, writing a couple of the episodes and specials himself. Toei wanted to give him the opportunity to unlock his true potential by tackling their next installment, Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger. It has been reported that Takano's biggest influence for King-Ohger was the Star Wars series The Mandalorian. Thus, King-Ohger would move away from Sentai's typical Earth setting and take place on a planet in a distant solar system called Terra. King-Ohger was an extremely ambitious show. So much so that before I can cover thy heroes, I must talk about thy effects and music. King-Ohger 'tis unlike any other Sentai series to come before it. The vast majority of King-Ohger was filmed in a giant room of LED walls and green screens. This is because Terra is a fantasy land of medieval kingdoms, all with their own distinct looks and products that serve Terra as a whole. The central kingdom, Shogadam, resembles an ancient castle surrounded by walls and is ultimately where all discussions for the betterment of Terra is held. Tofu provides the world with food, thus, the kingdom is fields of agriculture and buildings that represent those found in feudal Japan. Next up is Nikosopa, which is a land of technology. It's very cyberpunk-esque in its look, with buildings that emit electricity all around them. There is also an outer area with rundown buildings resembling slums. From there we come to Ishibana, a land of beauty, full of flowers and Terra's medical experts. Complementing Ishibana is Gokan, a frigid kingdom of ice where the world's prisoners are exported to. It is home to those who uphold the laws of Terra. Finally, there is a subterranean kingdom occupied by bug creatures known as Bugnarok. Like I said, it was an ambitious move and something that left the vast majority of fans questioning how far the show would go in its uses before reverting back to the traditional methods of filming. So that it made a lot of us think about Kyoryuger with the way they were talking about how it was going to be handled, because after all, Kyoryuger was said it was going to take place in space and be on multiple planets, but for the most part it was on Earth. And even when it was on multiple planets, it was just Earth with a filter over it or some random background green screened in to not be Earth. To our surprise, outside of a few outdoor areas such as fields and gravel pits, Toei had apparently started shooting King-Ohger 6 months earlier than normal to achieve this endeavor. The budget was also planned in advance to keep the show going in this style throughout. There were only 2 episodes that were filmed in a normal city, which featured a team up with the Kyoryugers. It also allowed for some truly unique set pieces to occur, although it is not always perfect. To start, it's a visual nightmare because there is so much artificial imagery going on that it is very distracting. However, once my eyes got settled in how this show works, it became a non-issue for the most part. Yes, there are times when the green screen background looks jittery, where characters do not look like they were standing or laying on an actual floor moments. Nevertheless, the story was there to make up for the shortcomings in the overall approach, giving the show its own sense of identity. It's like watching an anime come to life, and King-Ohger is all the better for it. Camera work also benefited from this method, as it allowed there to be some truly spectacular fight sequences. Even the mech battles that were done in CGI looked more natural thanks to them already being executed in a world of chroma key. Digimon Tries Ghost Sakabe helmed the score to King-Ohger, which threw me for a loop at times, as I totally thought it was Toshihiko Sahashi behind it. Some of Sakabe's pieces sounded very reminiscent to Sahashi's works found in Kamen Rider Agito and the Big O. A few other of Sakabe's musical masterpieces include these tracks.
動いてる。それでも死体だって？
お前さんはお前さん自身の能力で動く。
いただけないな。
どういうことかな。つまり君は
ジェラミー殿、あなたの意図で拘束してください。
Sakabe has also done the music to Ultraman Trigger, Kamen Rider Ghost, Data Live, Wolf Girl and Black Prince, and currently Kamen Rider Gav. Artist Takayuki Furukawa from a band called The Pinballs performed King-Ohger's one and only theme song, Zenroku King. Furukawa's only other piece of Toku media at this time is the opening theme to Kyoryuger. Like the show itself, Zenroku King sounds like it stepped out of an isekai anime, and yet it's very catchy. It's not the supreme piece of perfection that was the Donbrothers opening song, but it is one that is always pleasing to the ears. It definitely puts you into the mood of King-Ohger, though it is not always used in every episode. Thy heroes. Now thou hast to cover the effects and music. Let us talk about the heroes. Who art thou, the kings of each nation? Mostly. This is because our Red Ranger, Gira, is not exactly a king, at least at the start. Gira has no memory of his past outside being raised in an orphanage with Boone and his sister Kogane, who appears to be in love with Gira.
みんなダグデドをあがめて今まで辛かったのはギラのせいなんていうやつもいてさおかしいよ
They often play together until one day when Shogodome is attacked by the Bognarok. During this attack, Shugodome's king, Rockley's Haste, refuses to take up arms to confront the menace unless the other kingdoms of Terra bow to his demands. This enrages Gira and he steals Rockley's sword to become Kuwagata Ohger, an act that is considered treason, forcing Gira to declare himself the tyrant king who will conquer all of Terra.
貴様を打ち滅ぼす者の名はギラ邪悪の王となる男
Of course, it is all an act, though the inhabitants of Shugodome do not know this. Gira makes friends with the other kings across Terra. It is revealed that he is actually Rockley's younger brother who was kidnapped a decade prior to the show's events, apparently because Rockley's wanted him out of the way.
彼の本名はギラ・ハスティ、ラクレスの弟であり、シュゴッタムの王族だ。
In time, Gira does become the king of Shugodome, which leads to a new set of trials and tribulations he must endure. Taisei Sakai does a solid job as Gira, knowing when to be over the top for dramatic purposes and when to keep his performance low-key. Early on, it is revealed that Gira has tremendous healing capabilities, almost like he has character shields on par with Lucky from Kyoryuger. Fortunately, there is a huge reason that is unveiled late in the series, giving extra weight to it compared to Lucky, who is just equipped with a god mode for the sake of having a god mode. Gira is also able to communicate with giant insect robots, the Shoe Gods, though no one seems to know why. Masato Yano portrays Rockley's, and he is without a doubt the best actor on the show. Yano has a wide range of depth here as he has to act like a completely tyrannical king who will manipulate his subjects into thinking he is right, as we see with the loudmouth cultist with a bowler hat.
タクシーが捕まんなくてさ、てかタクシーが立ってさ、ありえないんだけど、もったいないよ。
Wait, nope, actually he is not a cultist because he has morals, and when he learns the truth about Rockley's, he stops supporting him.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Then he will have to act silly in dream sequences as seen when Gira is believed to be dead, and the King-Ohgers start thinking about how he would react during Gira's funeral to find out he is still alive. It seems like Yano was able to enact whatever Toei required of him with great efficiency. Rockley's also comes equipped with his own King-Ohger form that is a white Kawaga beetle. There is more to Rockley's than meets the eye, but I'll leave that for you to discover in your own viewing of the series. The first king to befriend Gira is the president of Nikosopa, Yanma Gast. Yanma started out as an orphan living in the slums who made his way to the top by being charismatic and highly skilled with coding. Anytime someone questions his authority, he challenges them to a hacking battle and wins every time. What? Yama may seem cold-hearted and uncaring, but this is actually a facade he created to keep up appearances given his role as Nikosopa's ruler, a feat actor Oto Watanabe pulls off with precision. Despite his serious nature, Yanma is very childish and impulsive. There was one moment where he could not resist the urge to deliver a giant whoopee cushion to Rockleys, hoping he would sit on it, and has fun imagining what Rockleys' reactions would be to it, even if it resulted in a war between Shugodam and Nikosopa.
どうもありがとう
He has a habit of calling everyone a slack-jawed tanuki.
死に気ぃつけろスカボンダヌゲ生意気にとぼけんなスカボンダヌゲうるせえスカボンダヌゲ
Yanma also takes pride in being the one who managed to use his technical skills to give the King-Ohgers the ability to control their shoe gods. Ishibana's ruler is the often selfish Himeno Ren, played by half-Canadian actress Erika Murakami.
あなたの望みは誰でもない。あなたにしか叶えられない。夢も未来もわがままから始まるの。
Himeno took up Ishibana's throne at a young age as 15 years ago her parents were murdered by a hooded man when swarms of cicada shoe gods attacked Terra in an event that has become known as the Fury of the Gods. She loves her subjects, the beauty of her kingdom, and will do whatever it takes to keep them safe. Though her beauty requirements can be a bit extreme.
姫野ちゃんにはそれがある
あの家どけて。
家はどきません。
じゃあ壊して。せーの。完璧。
It also helps that she is an experienced doctor, as Ishibana has the cure for almost any disease. I love the weapon Himeno obtains in the second half of the show, as it's a giant scythe that can strip life away from anything it slashes. Next up is Rita Kaniska, who is not only the ruler of Gokhan, but also Terra's judge, jury, and executioner. Rita is required by law to investigate any and every crime that is placed upon a citizen of Terra, no matter how minute it is, which is why they choose to keep their face hidden. When we are first introduced to them, Rita is judging a scalper.
お前はこれを回収本来の数十倍の金額で転売した。マイナス10度の牢獄で半年過ごせ。
転売の何が悪いんだ
Man, I wish we could do that to scalpers in the real world. Those who are imprisoned spend their sentence in the frozen wastelands of Gokhan. It's a tough job that requires only the strongest of wills to embark on. Rita became Gokhan's ruler at a young age, but not because their parents died.
親は生きてる。合ってる。
Rather, because they were chosen by the former ruler, who disappeared during the Fury of the Gods. Rita is tied with Yama in being my favorite of the King-Ohgers, and part of it has to do with how badass they are portrayed as. Rita has a hard time showing their emotions in public, but when you get them alone, especially if it is with a giant plush from a children's TV show called Mofin and Me, they can be very silly.
リタおかえり。モフン、もうやだよ。リタどうしたの？モフンのこと転売したやつ、半年しかぶち込めなかった。知りたいでいいのに。
Mofin and Me is what gets Rita through the hard days of work, something I think we can all relate to. Rita also screams when things don't go their way. Right up there with the Gummy Bears Robot Chicken skit and Haruno from Turbo Ranger. Rita also seems to have some sort of Beetlejuice thing going on that puts people into laughter whenever they reveal their face to others. Yuzuki Hirakawa does an incredible job at playing the first true non-binary ranger in Sentai history. Because Rita has to be an impartial character who looks at both sides and remains neutral, so it's only fitting that their gender is also neutral. Our final king is Kaguragi Dabalski. Dabalski became Tofu's king during the Fury of the Gods after he assassinated the previous ruler for stealing the kingdom's crops and burning them. He's a very treacherous man who will only work with whatever side benefits him the most, and was apparently extremely tall and strong even at the age of 10.
この筋肉量 確かに10歳に戻ってます。
それで10歳なの？
豆腐の子はよく食べよく寝て育ちがいいんですよ、二人とも。
Some of his loyalty towards Rockley's is due to his sister being Rockley's fiancée.
悲鳴が聞こえたが。
悪い夢を見てたみたい。でもラクレス様が助けに来てくださった。
Other times it is to learn more about Shugadam and what may help the King-Ohgers defeat the Bugnarok. Either way, the rest of his team come to learn that they must always be on their guard around him, for they never know when he is going to betray them.
欺き、たばかり、裏をかき、下道に出しても国を、職を、命を守り抜かなければならない。
This is seen in one case when Gira and Rockley's are having a duel against each other, and Dobowski was supposed to give some fake poison to Rockley's to use on the Gira in the midst of battle, but gives him the real poison instead.
カグラギが毒とすり替えて麻酔薬渡したの。
ちゃんと麻酔薬の方渡した？
抜かりなく。これどっちです？
見た目でわかるわけない。
These tactics also benefit him in battle, specifically against the villainess who can manipulate people into doing what she tells them to do.
お任せあれ。欺き、たばかり裏をかく。それは自分とて同じ。私は己すら裏切る男。
What's interesting about Dobowski's actor, Sokaku, is he has a twin brother, and yet the show never utilized the evil Clone Ranger plot to take advantage of this fact. I'm not sure if it was a wasted opportunity, or just Takano resisting the urge to do so. Kaku was also a rugby player. Mame Kamura is Dobowski's sister Suzume, who is deeply in love with Rockley's just as much as she is in helping her brother.
ラクレス様への敬意をカブトムシになりきって示しなさい。そうすれば見逃してあげるわ。キスキスキス。無邪魔なこと。
キスキスキス。キスキス。
The final member of the King-Ohgers is the half-human, half-Bugnarok Jeremy Brashiri that Masashi Ikeda portrays. One of the most interesting aspects about Jeremy is that he is actually the show's narrator, so the entire story is told from his perspective.
これは地球の平和を守る王たちの物語。そしてこれから王になる俺の物語さ。
He's over 2,000 years old and dreams of a world where the humans and Bugnarok live in peace. Of course, he's also a tad responsible for the war between the two, as he's the one who initially wrote the story about the King-Ohgers driving the Bugnarok away from Terra's surface, causing everyone to view the Bugnarok as evil beings over the centuries.
バグナラクは悪いやつかい？どうしてそう思うんだい？
王様戦隊の伝説。
その昔、5人の英雄と守護神キングオージャーがバグナラクを打ち倒し、この書き方じゃバグナラクは悪者だ。
As such, Jeremy feels it is his responsibility to take control of Bugnarok and make them into a respectable kingdom that cherishes life as much as everyone else. There's even a scene where he is teaching Bugnarok's inhabitants to bury the departed and pray for them.
ほら、埋めたらこうやって手を組んで祈るんだ。
I could also spend hours raving about his transformation device. Actually, that brings me to my next topic, the King-Ohger's gear and costumes. While Toei tried something new with Inu Brother and Kiji Brother and Donbrothers, the Donbrothers suits were still made of spandex. Here, the King-Ohger suits are more armored-like in their presentation with capes on one side, while the bug motif for each hero is displayed in the helmets. It's pretty damn awesome. The main cast transforms using their swords known as Ohger calibers. They each have their own side weapons as well. Also, Gira receives a golden form thanks to a crown and lance a little before the halfway point of the series. Each kingdom has its own second in command of the kings and queens. This includes a 25-year-old warrior who takes on the guise as a butler for Himeno.
何年この羊やってんだ。
3年です。こう見えて私25歳ですから。
どう見てもヨボヨボの老人じゃねえかよ。
特殊メイクです。羊っぽくしろとの命令で。
A yes man for Yama.
不思議はないだろ。おいこら！そこはやっぱか抜きする。
Which is kind of funny as he started out as an antagonist for him.
それを偽善で邪魔しやがって。エコスパは終わってんだよ。
An assistant to Rita whose parents were criminals and she was born in a prison.
私は側近っていうか後継ぎ候補なんで王に忠誠誓うとか少しもわからないですね。
Knights for Rakles and Gira named Boshemir and Duga.
王たちの姿が民にとっての希望になるのです。
お任せを。
And a Kuroko who follows every order given by Bluesky without question.
ここにあらず。失格です。
Oh, Jeremy also has his own Bugnarok buddy, a phantom bug who has the coolest, softest voice ever. Tomokazu Seki once again showing off his many talents.
私はどこにもいるしどこにもいないカゲロウですから。ジェラミーのように長く生きるのはどんな気持ちなんです？
In the middle of the series, the King-Ohgers are sent to the worst place in the universe, Japan. The villain's words, not mine.
最悪の場所に飛ばしてやれよ。
There, they meet the Kyoryugers, who are struggling to defeat a new day-boss army as bravery has apparently been taken from the world. Additionally, Daigo is missing, leaving a rookie from an alternate timeline in his stead named Prince.
しかも俺たちはブレイブを奪われたせいで恐竜ジャーにチェンジできない。
それで日本とやらこのざまか。でも諦めてないヨーグルト。
It is cool to see the Kyoryugers again, and out of all the series out there from recent years to follow up with, it makes sense to do them since the show itself even established Dayboss was actually sent to Earth by another being in the universe. This team up also sees Prince transforming with a combined power-up between the batteries and shoe gods. Prince is played by Rintaro Kawana, who funny enough was also one of the child characters in episode 7 of Ryu Soldier. Thy villains! There be 2 sets of villains in this show, each with thy own distinct identities. Our first threat are the Bugnaroks. A war broke out between their race and the winner took up arms against the humans on Terra's surface. They were defeated and now 2,000 years later, return under the command of King Death Narak VIII.
我らは地帝国バグナラク。我が名はナラク王デズナラク8世。
Death Narak wants revenge for their imprisonment and will resort to any methods to do such, even if it means destroying the planet to kill everyone.
過去を知らぬ我らは知らぬ罪を背負わされわけもわからず暗い奈落の底に押し込められた。
However, none of this is because he is outright evil. It's just that he has been bred to believe it is his right to rule the planet, per the advisement of his assistant, Kamejin.
デズナラク様、すべての準備が整いました。
世界をひっくり返す時だ。
Death Narak is voiced by Tomoyuki Shimura, while Shinichiro Miki portrays Kamejin.
死ぬ前に地球の秘宝を渡していただけますか?
Miki's previous works include Roy Mustang in Fullmetal Alchemist, Lock-On in Gundam 00, and Alan Shazar in Escaflowne. An interesting thing to note is that both the Monsters of the Week and the Grunts are actually the citizens of Bugnarok. As such, they're just your normal everyday people fighting for what they are told is right.
100人死んでも101人殺せば問題なし。
While the show does elevate them from your typical monsters to Sentai, that's all they really have going for them, as the Monsters of the Week for this series are quite weak. There are a couple of interesting ones, like an army ant. A dung beetle. And of course, Gorojim, but for the most part, they're a forgettable lot. They grow big by eating shugas who've been imprisoned in some sort of amber-like jewel. The second half of the series brings in a group of all-powerful godlike beings called the Galactic Insects. The Galactic Insects are kinda like the Infertia gods of Magi Ranger, where they themselves become the monsters of the week. Unlike the Infertia gods, they stick around for the majority of the show. There's the leader, the all-powerful, nearly invincible, Doug Dead Jordan. Doug Dead can wipe out a planet in a single whack of his hand if he so chooses to, but to him, that would be boring. Thus, he tries to set certain ground rules to conquer planets, and as long as the planet provides him with a fun time, he will stick to his rules.
Lord Helmet, what? You need it on the bridge, sir. Knock on my door! Knock next time! Yes, sir. Did you see anything? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good!
Akira Ishida has a lot of fun voicing Doug Dead. You've probably heard him before as Gaara in Naruto, Atherin Zala in Gundam Seed, Bei in Geki Ranger, Tatsulan in Kamen Rider Kiva, and was the Japanese dub voice for Connor McKnight in Power Rangers Dino Thunder.
この部屋にはさ、星と命が多すぎる。整理したいんだ。でも片付けはつまらん。I
do like Doug Dead's design, as his head is a spaceship piloted by a tiny insect that makes me think of Skeets and Mr. Mime from DC's 52 comic series and Zargane from Hurricaneger. His jesters, as he calls his minions, include the ninja-based Gorma, the leech with a mouth, Hirubo, Minangan, a primitive moth who can transcend time and space,
Nani?
and the bane of Himeno's existence, Grody.
Cortesia, me lo ripeti ancora.
Grody.
Scusi, con me?
Grody.
Ancora una volta.
Grody.
Ancora?
Grody.
Un'altra volta, ma adesso vorrei proprio sentire la musica delle parole.
Grody.
Bravo.
As individuals, the jesters are kinda lackluster, though it was interesting having each one of them conquer a kingdom in the later portion of the show. Hirubo uses dirty tactics to win a fight, which anime actress Miyuki Sawashiro does a fine job at. She was also the voice for Rita in the Japanese dub of the 2017 Power Rangers movie. Seki lends his talents to Minagan, who sounds nothing like Girojim. Everyone who watched Kira Major should recognize Gorma's voice, as Kazuhiro Yamaji was Emperor Yoda on there. Finally, Grody is played by Kosei Amano, who was Tachibana in Kamen Rider Blade and the principal in Forze. Funnily enough, Doug Dead forgot about him.
一人いなかったでしょ。護道家がずっといよん。一人、二人、三人、四人。
Grody is obviously the most interesting of the bunch, given his plot ties in with Himeno.
パパとママを殺した。
言われてもな、どのパパとママかわかんねえ。
He has a human form with a monster form. And is pretty threatening when he is on screen and not sleeping. The biggest issue with these guys is that they are so powerful, the show doesn't seem to know exactly what to do with them. The way they are defeated sometimes feels convenient rather than competent. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. It's like Takano wrote himself into a corner with them and then had to bullshit his way out. I love how credible of a threat the galactic insects are right from the start. I just wish their defeats felt earned, especially when Doug Dead is just able to bring them back from the dead at a whim. Thy Mecha. Thy mechs are based on insect gods. As established earlier, shoe gods. The shoe gods are compiled of several sentient insect machines, some of which are piloted by the King-Ohgers, but they don't necessarily have to be. However, the more pilots there are, the more efficient King-Ohger himself is when combined. There are three main auxiliary insects, a scorpion, a kabuto beetle, and a grasshopper, which help for weapons for King-Ohger to wield. Jeremy's shoe god is a giant tarantula that has its own robot mode. When all the shoe gods combine, they become extreme King-Ohger. Tis the 90s, y'all! Finally, Shugenum's castle holds a few secrets of his own, which includes being a spaceship. Join us for the newest episode of Space Beetleship Kabuto. A robot mode. It's getting a little bee fighter up in here. And also merging with King-Ohger to form the ultimate machine of destruction. Heracles has his own version of King-Ohger created to suit his needs. Finally, Gabutaira has a few moments of combining with the shoe gods. I will say it is interesting with how light King-Ohger was on its mech battles at times, which was nice. Not every episode has one. In fact, sometimes you get an entire string of episodes without one. I end up nicknaming the episodes that aired in November No Mech-vember due to there not being a single mech fight in those episodes. It makes them feel special when they do occur. Thy episodes. King-Ohger is broken up into two arcs, each with thy own tone and plot twists. One of the show's strongest points is how multi-layered each character is. Just when you think you figured one of them out, a new plot twist occurs that drives your predictions onto a new highway. Sometimes you can guess what is happening, sometimes not. It makes the show very unpredictable, and that works in the favor of its characters. It also throws you for a loop, as it is the only Sentai series to date to have an actual time jump in the middle of the story. Once Death Narak is defeated, 2 years pass by, which brings in the aforementioned galactic insects and a new goal for the King-Ohgers to achieve. achieved. Now, I would be lying if I said the second half is as strong as the first, as the second half is definitely a tad weaker. It dives into having episodes that are more in line with what you come to expect from a Sentai show, while also trying to stay true to what came before. It's a bit disjointed. For example, my least favorite episode is 38's Indomitable Idol debut. It features Rita entering an idol contest the galactic insects are holding for some reason. Thus, Rita must go through a competition to prove themselves worthy of being an idol for the universe. I have no idea where this idea came from, why it was a thing, or what the thought process was behind the writing of this episode, but it happens. I'm also unsure as to why Rita of all people had to be the one to act as an idol when Rita is not the least bit girlish given their non-binary nature. It seems rather insulting now upon thinking about it.
リタですね。らしくはないですけど。
Now, there are some fun moments, such as the others trying to figure out why Rita is doing this and Rita telling them their theories are wrong.
ずっとアイドルになるのが夢だったのね。
だから違う！潜入捜査だ。護道家の能力、目的、それをアイドルになりすまして探っている。
リタさんは正しく生きようとする人の世界を守ってくれてたんだよ。
ずっと言ってる。これは護道家を探るための潜入捜査！
Nevertheless, this episode feels completely out of place for King-Ohger. Furthermore, Minogan speaks like a normal being without any rhyme or reason for it, only to revert back to his primitive nature by the end of the episode.
ちなみに、今、ダグデドがハマってる探査です。リタさんは、なぜこのオーディションに参加したのですか？
貴殿はいかように滅ぼすつもりだった？帰宅。
I reiterate, what the hell is going on here? That is not to say the first half was always perfect, as even that had some moments of silliness that felt out of place. This includes an episode where the King-Ohgers hold contests against Gira, and if he loses, he must do their bidding while Duga goes to other nations, trying to become a citizen to them in the most ridiculous outcomes imaginable.
恩情への入場を志望したのはずっとコソパこそ最も素晴らしい国と思っていたからです。私はずっとイシャバーナこそ最も素晴らしい国だと思っておりました。うわ息が詰まる。なんと。それで私は採用でよろしいでしょうか。辞退させていただきます。寒すぎます。採用。すいません。
Still, the second half featured far more of these out-of-narrative moments compared to the first, which did ultimately hurt the show as a whole. Thankfully, episode 37's The Orochi conflict still exists and makes you forget about the weaklings. The Orochi conflict sees Tofu's former queen return to the throne after being resurrected by Grody. Bluesky is blamed for burning the crops this time around, causing the citizens to distrust him.
カグラギが火をつけたんだ。俺は見たんだよ。あの裏切り者め。
Bluesky must confront the queen, which leads us to the truth behind his betrayal and what led him to becoming the kingdom's ruler. It's a solid narrative with some truly amazing sequences. Music.
Tofu の米に毒を入れた。だから猪木殿は米を独占し燃やした。
And a story that will leave you with a new perspective on Bluesky's character. I should also mention that Queen Orochi is played by Akiko Hinagata, who is married to Amano. Thy movies and specials. King-Ohger has multiple movies and specials to converse. The most interesting is of course the summer film, which is set before the last few minutes of episode 23. It takes place before Gira's coronation with a former housemate of his named Devanica, appearing to take him to the land of the dead to speak with the original ruler of Shugadom, Rhino Hasti.
天論の世において優しさは人を救えない。だが私なら救える。
They go, as do the other King-Ohgers, and they all meet the spirits of the ones they loved in the past.
Papa, Mama.
裏切り者め。よくも私の国を奪ってくれたな。
これは全部モフ。
It's an interesting movie because it puts plot over action and there really isn't a true villain of the film, just a misguided former king. However, even the motives behind Rhino make sense from his point of view. And he totally looks like a Skull Knight from Zelda. It's not the fun action-packed romp that Donbrothers did, and yet it has its own merits. Following those include two versus films, one for Donbrothers and one for Kyoryuger. The Donbrothers movie has some solid moments, such as Haruka, Rita Himeno, and Sonoza all arguing about whether a show aimed at kids should be brainless or sophisticated.
子供にこそ本当に面白いものを届けなきゃいけないんだ。
として言わせてもらいますけど、ターゲットを明確にしてヒットを飛ばすのがプロの仕事。オタクに刺さって子供に受けなかったら意味がない。
That sounds like a familiar argument.
だから深読みしすぎないで、純粋に楽しんでほしいの。
公式がネタバレするな！
なんでもかんでもネタバレで騒ぐな！
The team's lining up.
何はどうなってる？とりあえず並んだ方が良さそうですね。
And some movie exclusive forms. However, it's just kind of there and pointless. Meanwhile, the Kyoryuger one is just weird. It's set before, during, and after the events of King-Ohger, deals with timey-wimey shenanigans, and seems just as pointless. Uchi is a moron who accidentally makes Gira a villain while Daigo returns through sheer plot convenience.
父ちゃん、助けて。
And again, there are some new forms to take in. It's definitely not Donbrothers vs. Zenkaiger levels of bad, but yeah. There is a Rockley's 3-parter that takes place between episodes 2 and 3. It has him forcing a scientist to work on secrets that will result in her execution the moment she has completed the task.
骨拾ってくださいね。
約束しよう。
There's a pretty cool looking Bugnarok.
こんにちは、王様。
Some really bad green screen.
やはり体内に取り込んでいないとダメですね。
食べてる時は覚えてるんだけど。いいですか。
And a cool fight. It's not too bad. Next up is a short little adventure of Yanma teaming up with two Deca Pinks, Umiko and a new recruit played by Sononi's actors from Donbrothers, and Jasmine.
二人は互いの顔を近づけていき、そのままというところで朝が来てしまって、ちょっとそこで起きないでよ、てんちゃん。
It's got some weird vibes going on in it, but it is harmless fun.
愛する人にこれ以上危ない仕事はさせられない。
いい加減に目を覚ませ、このスカポンタン。
Apparently, this special stemmed from Watanabe watching Deca Ranger when he was growing up and having a crush on Maruka.
警官が押収しようとしたら反撃しましたよね。
体が勝手に動いたんだ。
とぼけないで。この狂気で何をしようとしてたの？
覚えてねえっつってんだろこのすっとこたぬき。
すっとこたぬき？
Finally, there is King-Ohger!
In space!
This story has the King-Ohgers teaming up with Prince, King Ranger, Deca Master, and Phoenix Soldier to take on the remnants of the Balban Empire to save Doran and the universe. It somehow manages to pack quite a few solid moments in its short runtime. It was also nice to see Riki and Doran back, even though they are portrayed by different actors, which does make sense from a story point of view.
Oh, お前さんがドリンかい。
あなたたちは
犬のおまわりさんからあんたがここに捕まってるって聞いた。本人か。サンジは優に超えてるはずだ。
And we get the grunts from O, Ginga, and Deca, which was cool. Just don't think about the show's continuity for this one, as it doesn't make a lick of sense. Just enjoy the ride. King-Ohger was a solid experience from beginning to end. Verily, it does take some time to get used to the visual puke, but once that does, Thoust is in for a good time. Thus, I declare Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger a solid 4 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. 'Tis one that all shall watch, or loser be thy name. Till we meet again, fare thee well, or so the story goes.